Hey everybody, Mr. Hames here. Sorry if it looks like my eyes are a little bit tired. It's early, and the reason I'm out here so early in rural Sycamore is because I want to try to catch a glimpse of the sunrise this morning. And that's not a regular thing for me, but there's something a little bit special about the sunrise today. I'm going to try to catch it on video, and hopefully you enjoy. All right, so I know that probably no middle schooler is up at this time in this region right now. That's a given. But I do sometimes appreciate getting up and seeing the sunrise. But this sunrise in particular was a little bit unique, because if you look at the video closely, you can see that a small portion of the sun seems to be missing. And the reason is that is occupied by the moon. You're not seeing part of a missing sun, but rather something in front of the sun that's getting in the way of your perspective of seeing the sun. The moon, of course, orbits around Earth, and occasionally when the moon makes its orbit, it passes between where we are at on Earth and where the sun's light is shining towards us. When that happens, the moon's shadow passes over Earth, and part of the sun appears to be missing. Now, there are different types of eclipses. The one this morning was something called an annular eclipse. Some people refer to it as the ring of fire. That's because when the moon passes fully in front of the sun, you see something like this, which is what much of the world saw. But here in northern Illinois in the United States, we only got a small portion of that because of where we're located on the planet. Now, you'll notice in that picture, the moon doesn't completely cover up the surface of the sun. There's still that ring around it. But sometimes the moon does cover up the sun completely. When that happens, it's called a total solar eclipse. A total solar eclipse happens, the moon is at a place in its orbit around Earth in which it's a little bit closer to us, and therefore it's able to just cover up more of the sun. It's kind of like if you put your hand in front of your face and you cover something up with your thumb and you move it closer, you're able to cover up more because it's getting closer to your point of view. You're not able to see around it as much when it's closer to your eyeball. The moon travels in what's called an elliptical orbit. That means it's not in a perfect circle around Earth. It's more of kind of like an oblong oval. So there are some times when the moon is really close to us, and there are some times when the moon is just a little bit further than us. It's not much, but it's enough of a difference to make a solar eclipse look like this when the moon's closer, and a solar eclipse look like this when the moon's a little bit farther. Now, we had a total solar eclipse back in 2017. You might remember it when it was in elementary school. I know at the middle school, teachers took the kids outside. I remember it well because my son Jack had just been born. And the thing that's so cool about a total solar eclipse is when the entirety of the sun is covered, the corona of the sun, or the atmosphere of the sun, becomes visible, okay? So the sun is no longer visible, but the atmosphere around it kind of puts on a really cool, wispy, kind of whimsical display around the sun. Now, a couple weeks ago, you might have heard that we had a different kind of eclipse. There's a third kind of eclipse I want to talk about today, and that's a lunar eclipse. It's kind of when the situation is reversed. This type of eclipse is only visible at night when you would see the moon. And this is when the opposite happens. This is when the moon is on the opposite side of Earth to the sun, and Earth's shadow starts to cover up the moon. That's because Earth gets in the way of where the sun is, and so the light traveling from the sun can't reach the moon's surface. Now, what's really cool about that is then we have the ability to see the shadow of Earth travel across the surface of the moon at night. But what's really interesting is because Earth has a curved atmosphere, some of the gases in our atmosphere are able to bend the light around, but only certain colors of the sun. Back in November, I did a video on sunrises and sunsets and why the sky gets beautiful orange and red and sometimes purple colors. And it has to do with something called refraction in the atmosphere. Our curved atmosphere actually bends the light, making it look a little different to our eyes. We only see certain colors while other colors bounce back away into space. Now, why am I talking about that? Because in a lunar eclipse, when it gets totally covered, some of that red light bends back to the moon, and the moon kind of turns a blood red or blood orange color like this. It's really quite awesome if you've ever seen a lunar eclipse. So there you have it. We have solar eclipses, the total, and annular, and then lunar eclipses. I know it wasn't as much to see. Probably this morning wasn't as exciting to see a total eclipse, or the moon at least covered to that ring of fire like the picture I showed earlier in this video. But to me, it's still worth it to wake up early, pour some coffee, look to the skies, and just learn something. I find that I most appreciate what I learn about when I go out and actually experience it for myself. And just to see a little portion of that sun missing this morning and capture that on video was worth it to me to learn something new. So there you go. I hope you appreciate learning a little something new about eclipses. Now, I'm gonna go finish my coffee and go home before my kids get up. Have a great day, everybody.